an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items listed on the agenda. Do we have any speakers at this time?
Madam Mayor, there are no registered public comments and there are no e-comments.
Okay, with that, we will adjourn to closed session.
Do I have a Richard C. present for public comment? Not in the room.
Join the organization. Someone who-
Let me do it. No, don't give me that. I'm gonna tell you later. I'm gonna handle it though, because I'm gonna do it the way I want. Yes. Yeah, it's fine. Awards and Christmas parade. Probably your award. Hogging all this crap. Uh-huh. Tell me when. Good evening and welcome to the September 28th, 2021 regular meeting of the Hemet City Council. I call this meeting to order. City Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Krupa, Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Here.
Mayor Meyer.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the invocation by Pastor Kevin Robinson, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance by Malcolm Lilienthal, our Mayor Pro Tem. Can everyone please stand? And Pastor Robinson is a former police officer also, just so everybody knows.
Let's pray. Our Father, as we bow before you, we're mindful that we are making decisions here for a lot of people that are made in your image. And so we ask for wisdom, we ask for consensus, and we just ask that your name would be honored and magnified in all the decisions that are made here today. We also pray for help, knowing that in this room there are several who are hurting and dealing with issues that are difficult. Grant them wisdom as they deal with these things. May the peace of God that passes understanding encourage them through these things. Through it all, we just give you the praise, trusting you to guide and direct the affairs of our city through these dear folks. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Please join me in our pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 10, City Attorney. Can you please report out of closed session?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For item 4A, there is no reportable action. For item 4B, there is no reportable action. For item 4C, there was settlement direction given by consensus on all three items. I'd like to also note that for item 4C, Mayor Meyer did recuse herself for the conflict stated, for the reason stated. And then for item 4D, there was no reportable action. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Next, we want to welcome the public to have comments, and they will each have 3 minutes unless otherwise noted. So first, we will take public comment from items that are listed on the agenda. First up, we have Matt McPherson, followed by Janine Harley.
Honorable Mayor, council members, once again, I'm here to advocate for a downtown Christmas parade. This will be the 4th year we've had the downtown Christmas tree lighting. Very well received by the community and surrounding businesses, property owners. Everybody seems to like it. I'll also point out that downtown Hemet, I think from Santa Fe to Gilbert, I believe it is the only section of Florida that does not have a median. So if you were to plan a parade, that's the only real practical place to have it. In addition, I heard that there's possible talk about trying to do it at night and issues with lighting, but consensus was. But I was going to make a suggestion of possibly doing it at dusk, maybe 3 to 4, a half hour-long parade. That way you could lead up to maybe a Christmas or make it some of the business. And another thing I was told is some businesses were against it. I'm kind of struggling to find out what businesses are against it. Downtown, so, oh my gosh, this is good news. We want to do this right now. I think it would really help as a catalyst for downtown. I think that's it. But yeah, please consider bringing up.
Thank you. Next, Janine Harley, followed by Pat Gregory.
I really focus on the positives of Hemet and not so much the negatives. And I really think that our little community needs something that's bright and cheery and positive for our community because we need it. I just wanted to show my support for that, and I don't care what the time or the date. I know everybody will make something safe, and I'd like to offer my services if anything needs a community or something. The service, all right?
Thank you. Next, we have Pat Gregory, and Pat Gregory will have 6 minutes. She had minutes donated from another. Pat?
Good evening, council members, mayor. This is in regards to agenda item 13B. At the last city council meeting, you all voted to grant a conditional liquor license to a new market that will be built out next to the old Pep Boys. In my opinion, this was a big mistake, and I'd like to tell you why. We granted the license even though the Hemet Police Department and the city's planning department recommended against it. It even violates the local city ordinances, and now that there are 6 liquor licenses where there should be only 2. I wonder how many liquor licenses are in your neighborhood. This business entity is not really a market. It's a liquor store in disguise, and I don't want to come off as a half-baked crusader. We visited the 2 other El Toro stores. The store in San Jacinto has a beer advertisement in every single window, and inside there are 17 beer refrigerators and a wall of distilled spirits. The store on State is similar. An interesting strategy that seems to have fooled all of you. Mr. Rahman said at the last meeting that the liquor sales amount to only 5% of his business. He also said he had experience in the grocery industry. Well, that doesn't make sense to me because an experienced grocer would not dedicate so much floor space to a product line that only accounts for 5% of his sales. Did anyone bother to check his numbers? He has more space, floor space, dedicated to liquor sales than Sprouts or even Winco. I took a look at the ABC board's listing for liquor licenses for the existing El Toro markets. El Toro Express, Inc. is listed as the primary owner of the San Jacinto store. Yet when I checked the Secretary of State's website, El Toro Express, Inc. has been suspended by the FTC. The ABC's listing for primary owner of the Hemet store is El Toro Express 1, which is an active corporation. Now, I don't know if that's a typo or misspelling, but I was curious if that was looked at by the city. Both entities are owned by Mr. Rahman. In reality, a liquor store within, a local market within walking distance of 3 senior communities would be extremely helpful. But this isn't a market, it's a liquor store masquerading as a market. Your decision to grant another liquor license near Florida Street does nothing to enhance the reputation of Hemet. You are now allowing liquor licenses on every corner except where you live. The worst thing about your decision
I have
is
one on
that
my
you
corner.
have placed a liquor store 66 feet away from an elderly person's bedroom window. This is my neighborhood, and your decision has increased and not decreased our safety concerns. Now, I happen to have read the resolution that was prepared, and I'm not sure how you can vote on that resolution, because the city resolution states a different owner or applicant than applied last time. Mr. Rahman applied. I believe the ABC says that he's applying, yet on the resolution, it has a different man's name. So how can you vote if it's a different applicant? Also, the property owner that's listed is El Toro Express. And according to the state's website, El Toro Express has been suspended. Now, again, I said that might be a typo, but that's what you have in the resolution. You are voting on an applicant who is not the same applicant as 2 weeks ago. And according to the wording in the resolution, it's for a business entity that is suspended. So I don't even know how that resolution can be voted on. I don't even know if it's legal, who's applying for this business license, which person is it? We don't know because there's 2 different names. And which business is it? We don't know because the website says that it's suspended. But there's an unsuspended license entity, but that's not the one that's listed on the resolution. I think you need to take a look at the wording of the resolution. And hopefully when you do, you also look at what that liquor store will do to our neighborhood. Thank you.
Next, we have Richard Kantla.
Hello, my name is Richard Kotla, and I'm a resident of Hemet. Good evening, City Council meetings, Madam Mayor. I'm here in discussion about Hemet Police Department, and I want to give them a big shout out, kudos for doing an excellent job under most difficult circumstances. I have personal experience with this, and being that at one point my own street was a wide open drug arena for gangbangers. And shortly after my first meeting here, they got cleaned out. Hemet PD came in with a giant Hoover cleaner, and it's been peace in the neighborhood ever since. I would like to further say that as late, there's been a lot of propaganda and discussion about defunding the police. We don't need the police department. To fall into that fallacy would be dysfunction, chaos, and despair at a maximum level. Because even still, since they've been there, we still have the bad actors who do come in and bring chaos and fear to the retired citizens of my neighborhood. But I know that Hemet PD is there because they have been there for us, even as of late, to keep the peace and keep us safe. And so therefore, I want to express my appreciation and continued support for Hemet PD. They're doing a really great job of keeping a lid on this thing, on all this activity that goes on. And I would look forward to working with Hemet PD, perhaps on a citizen police department discussion level, to where we can exchange ideas and work together continually to make this a great town. I would love to think that I would spend the rest of my life in retirement here in Hemet. And as long as I know that Chief Poost and the boys have got a handle on it, I think we're going to do that. So anyways, that's about it. Thank you for the podium.
Thank you. Next, we have Jerry Ann Franklin, followed by Sheila Diggs.
Me to follow. Jerry Ann Franklin with the Lakes at Hemet West. Once again, I applaud the police department and I want to thank the council and the mayor. We had Chief Post out to the Lakes at Hemet West on Friday. He gave an amazing presentation. He settled many spirits out there. He gave confirmation that the city is doing everything that they can to make it a safe community. And so we just want to thank the city, thank the council members for supporting our police department, for letting them be, and defunding, like the gentleman just said, there shouldn't be any defunding of our police department. We need them. They're doing so much to protect our community, especially in our retirement communities, 55 and older communities. We've got a lot, like I've said in the past, we've got a lot of homeless people, and having the police coverage out there really makes a huge difference. They may not be able to do a lot in, sweeping up the community, but they can, having their presence out there does make a huge difference. So applauding the city, applauding Chief Post for having his people out there, applauding Lieutenant Dixon, who I said the last time. So thank you very much and keep it up because it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sheila Diggs.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Diggs. To the council members and everything. First of all, I wanted to come up here and say I applaud you guys on that with the Hemet Police Department. Am I doing that? Sorry. I am a Hemet gatekeeper officer, and we work with the Hemet PD, and they are awesome. I really appreciate them because they have backed us so many times when we're out there on the streets. And you're all right. We want Hemet back. We want our community back. I've seen a lot of empty businesses and empty buildings, and sometimes a lot of the homeless is sitting there and camping out there. And what we don't want to see, we don't want to see it go down. Hemet is an awesome place to live, and I believe that we bought our first home here from San Diego. We're military. My husband and I, he's a pastor, and I tell you, there's just something about Hemet. I have met a lot of people here. I'm in the community a lot. And even through Hemet gatekeepers, I tell you, we've seen a lot of stuff out here in the streets with Hemet PD. So I do applaud them because they back us every time also too. And just so you know, Hemet gatekeepers is trying to keep it safe and help them also too, because I know they're limited. There's not a lot of officers, but the ones, that come and help, like I said, they're awesome. Okay. And we appreciate them. I appreciate my community, and I want to see things even get back to somewhat of where they were, everything thriving and moving again. So I just wanted to come up and say that, this is our town, this is our neighborhood, this is where we're going to be. Okay. I'm 57 years old, and this is where, I want to retire at. Okay. So thank you guys.
Yes, thank you very much. Before we continue on to item number 12, I would like to ask the city attorney, let me see. As far as the questions that were raised on item 13D, would you be able to respond to those, please?
Madam Mayor, can I interject before we start? I wanted to check online to see if there is anyone for public comment.
Okay, see if there's anyone online.
Excuse me. Yes, if there's anyone online that wishes to speak on the Zoom call, right now is the time to raise your hand or unmute yourself. And we'll give a few moments just because there's a delay. Seeing no one raise their hand, Madam Mayor, there's no public comment.
Okay, we're just going to get a quick clarification on item 13D, please.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a public comment regarding the form of the resolution that is included on the consent. There was a statement that the applicant is different between the applicant at the Planning Commission, the appeal, and the resolution you have before you. I've pulled all three documents. The applicant is the same across all three. The commenter is correct that the property owner is different on the final resolution that is before you today. Property owners change during development. It's pretty common that the property owner at the beginning of an application is not the same as the property owner at the end of an application. It's the applicant that's important to us. There are other points that were made that are interesting points regarding, who is going to hold the ABC license. I just wanted to point out that the city is not issuing an ABC license. The state law requires the state to issue a license for liquor. We're issuing a conditional use permit, which is a permit that runs with the land. And we are also making a public convenience and necessity finding, which is a requirement under state law, where if you have, according to a formula, an over concentration, then the city makes a finding of public convenience and necessity, and then the state will then proceed forward with issuing a license. Now, I understand it's a little bit of hair splitting, but I do think it is necessary to point that out, and just to state that the applicant is consistent across all the resolutions that were brought forward to the council. Thank you.
Okay, if there's any further questions or discussion, we'll just pull it at that time. All right, next item number 12, presentations. First, we have a highlight reel of the recent accomplishments in Hemet. You need a mic. Next, we have some special presentations by Mayor Pro Tem Malcolm Lilienthal.
Good evening, everyone. Everybody doing all right? Okay. So who's excited for Hispanic Heritage Month? All right. So whereas during National Hispanic Heritage Month, we celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month began in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15th and ending on October 15th. And whereas September 15th is the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th and September 18th. And whereas the city of Hemet is committed to recognizing Hispanic culture as an important part of its strong and inclusive community. Now, therefore, Carly Meyer, Mayor of the City of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15, 2021 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and urge all residents to celebrate the contributions that have been made to our country and community by Hispanic Americans. Next, I would like to have Ray Rodriguez join me. So Ray is co-founder of KIA Honor Flag, which is honoring people who are families with family members who were killed in action. And so we're bringing this honor today with a plaque to give a distinguished, this is how it reads, in appreciation for the 9/11 remembrance event you coordinated at the historic Hemet Theater and your ongoing commitment to honor our military, first responders, and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. I'd like to present this to you today. So being more informative, they have different packages on the websites that if you have any family members or anything that is relevance to this, they have several different packages that include what's provided in honor and remembrance to fallen heroes and special gifts for KIA families, as well as you can receive a gift package and an honorary certificate and become a Ghost Soldier, Ghost Post, or Ghost PX. Also, they have a sponsor package, which includes the Honor Flag sponsor package, which is designed to assist you in honor and remember presentation ceremony in support of a Gold Star fallen hero family member. And then they also have the Gold Star Touch of Class, which is a custom tailor of the KIA Honor Flag to include an honorary's name and designation information in gold silk screen, creating an heirloom for a family and cherish and treasure forever. So.
28 years ago, I lost a student. This is dog tag. So I became a co-founder of this organization, and to make sure that these young men and women are never forgotten, we created the flag for the new soldier of the Gulf War. Can I have your assistance real quick? Can you unfold that flag for me? No, the flag. This flag right here represents the men and women that paid the ultimate price. You see in the gold letters, all gave some gave all. If you have a family member that was killed in action, his or her name will be actually placed on where the gold lettering's at. It'll be his name, his rank, where he perished at. All these flags are customized, signed by me. This one was signed by me for 9/11, and it reads, "I have miles to go, things not yet done. My brothers and sisters called to me." Ray Rodriguez, co-founder, killed in action. Ghost Soldier 5, Spirit Warrior 3 arrows. And in the bottom right-hand corner, his flag's dedicated to the men and women that paid the ultimate price on 9/11. This flag was signed by people at the theater on 9/11. A veterans organization made these therapy boxes. It's got the 9/11 logo on it, my logo on it, Killed in Action, the American flag. Inside, there's a candle. I gave every one of the council members one of these. It's a therapy box for the soldiers to help them work on stuff. There's a lot of other things that they do. On the memorial table at 9/11, we had a round table and there were 13 flags. On that table, this is the tile of the 13 men and women that paid the ultimate price in Afghanistan, securing the airport. And all those tiles were on this table. And this is the group tile, and here, every one of them had an individual tile also. Those are in my possession now. I also gave one of these to every one of the council members. Our 9/11 event was a 20th remembrance. It's not an anniversary, it's a remembrance. And I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been involved in Killed in Action for 28 years. So those men and women are never forgotten. Our concert that we did at the theater, my organization literally rented out the theater. I didn't have to do that because I'm general manager there. I had the keys to the whole building, but we did. And the reason why we did that is to make sure that we had control of the theater. A lot of my guys came in from all over the area to help me put this thing together. It was a fundraiser for the First Responders Memorial Fund. We raised over $1,700 for the police, for the fire department, and for Killed in Action for the memorial funds. Those checks will be handed out very soon to the Police Memorial Fund and the Fire Memorial Fund and our Killed in Action. The Veterans Ranch we have here, RM Utility Veterans Ranch, which does horse therapy. Just the raffle prizes alone, they made over $1,100. So this is a small thing that we do to make sure that not just people from ground zero when the Twin Towers was falling, but the men and women that are blown to pieces by IEDs. I've escorted 2 bodies on an Angel flight, which is the hardest thing you can ever do. Reason why I do this, because I want to make sure that they are never forgotten. Thank you very much for all your support. This is what the flag represents.
Some gave all, some still give. For those who have gone before, we honor. For those who serve, we serve. And for those left behind, we support. Red is the color of the blood shed by our armed forces and special services who, because of being Americans, were put in harm's way. They paid the ultimate price for our freedom, both at home and abroad. We dedicate this flag to represent our sorrow and respect for those who died for our freedom. This flag reflects our commitment to help and support those who have been left behind, mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, wives and husbands, brothers and sisters. We leave no one behind. God bless America.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. Next, we have item number 13 on the consent calendar. All consent calendar items will be acted upon by a single motion unless otherwise requested to be pulled by an individual council member. So if anyone has items to pull, please let me know.
13D is in David.
I've got that one circled. (13H). Right, item 13H and 13D. Is there any other items, anyone? All right, so do we have a motion to approve the rest?
I'll make a motion to approve the rest.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Can we have a roll call vote?
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal, second by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa, Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
That motion passes to approve the consent calendar with the exception of items 13D and 13H for separate consideration.
Perfect. Okay, item 13D.
Thank you, Mayor. In light of public comments that raised some questions about this item, I know the city attorney has addressed some of those items, and I realize that the liquor licensing authority rests with state, ABC, not with the city. But I would like to suggest that we continue this item and allow some time for us to do some research into the questions that were raised about whether or not the business has suspended, or if there's any other enforcement concerns that we need to take into consideration.
I'll second that. All right, we have a motion and a second. You guys want a motion, Russ? You want to make that a motion?
Sure, unless there's more discussion.
We'll have, if we have a motion and a second, we can discuss more.
Yeah, I'll make that a motion.
Second it.
All right, any further discussion? Will give us time to get the questions answered. So,
If I could ask council, what specific questions are you looking for answers to?
okay.
Well, the concern about whether or not there is in fact a suspension associated with the business operation by state ABC.
So I did note that the Secretary of State has El Toro Express Inc. listed as FTB suspended. That is a status that is issued to a corporation that has failed to file its statement of information in a timely manner. What I would point out is that El Toro Express is not the applicant. So they're not the ones that are being issued the conditional use permit. And they're not the entity that's being, that the PCN is being found for. They are listed as the property owner as of now. And I would certainly say CUP runs the land, so nothing wrong with doing a little more due diligence. I would caution the council. The council did make a decision on the appeal, and the direction at the meeting was to come back with a resolution that encapsulated the council's findings. When you're talking about a business that has been granted a land use entitlement, they do have a certain amount of reasonable reliance that decisions that are made by the council are final. So if it's a question of, can we make sure that the resolution doesn't have, for example, an incorrect property owner or a property owner that is suspended, I think that makes total sense, but I would caution the council from going too far down the road of a decision has been made, and by not passing this resolution, we can somehow pull the entitlements that have already been voted on.
You're saying because we don't have jurisdiction over the item in question, it's not our say.
What I'm saying is, the Secretary of State is responsible for, certifying corporations are active or inactive. They have a whole bunch of rules that you have to comply with, filings that you have to make, none of which relates to the applicant themselves. In this case, it's simply a listing of the property owner. Just to give you an example, I mean, one could conceive of a situation where, you know, someone owns a property and you are coming in as a store leasing property. You're the applicant for that license. The property owner's problems aren't your problem as the applicant. So I see a distinction between the two. I have no problem with doing the research and following up to make sure that you have all the information you need to make sure this resolution has all of the information in an appropriate manner. I just wanted to caution the council from perhaps getting a little antsy over a decision that, at least I see from a legal point of view, the decision on the appeal has already been made.
Yeah, and if council is okay, I could rephrase the motion to verbiage closer to what you're allocating, that advocating is that we review the resolution to make sure that all of the information is indeed accurate and reflects.
But
what
he's saying
council's
that it
direction.
is. He's saying it is accurate and correct. So
But nevertheless, happy to double check. So that's entirely the council's prerogative. But I just get the feeling that, you know, there may be a perception that this is somehow a way to undo a decision that's already been made. That's all.
So it's your assessment then that the resolution is consistent and complies with the action that council took on the appeal?
Yes.
and you're saying that the landowner and the license owner are different
I'm saying that the applicant
applicant.
from the planning commission resolution where they took action to first appeal that you had at the last meeting to the resolution before you, the applicant and the address have not changed. Property owner has been changed by staff, I presume to reflect changes in who the current property owner is. I don't have personal knowledge who the current property owner is. So that's why I'd be happy to do the research and make sure that that item is listed correctly. The only point I was making is the property owner is not the applicant. You know, the address is correct, the APN is correct, the applicant's correct. Happy to do the research though, if it would give the council comfort. I have no legal concern with passing it tonight though, if that was what the council wanted to do. That's why it's on consent.
Well, I guess on that basis, then I would consider withdrawing my motion.
Just clarification, Mr. Karafu, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, is the applicant from beginning to end, and El Toro Express or Mr. Rahman is the property owner from beginning to end?
So Mohammed Kafara is the applicant from beginning to end.
Okay.
The application as it came to the planning commission listed RA and B development as the property owner of 1958 Florida. On the final version of the resolution that staff submitted, the property owner has been changed to El Toro Express. Like I said, changes in ownership are not uncommon during the development process. I mean, honestly, staff could remove the property owner line from this resolution and it would still be effective and it wouldn't bother me at all. So if the property owner line is giving the council heartburn, and if staff is unable to verify that they've done research and explain why they've changed that, you could just delete the line and we could move forward.
One additional question on this. You made, I believe, a comment, somewhere I made the note, that the CUP runs with the land. If it runs with the land, don't we have to be sure who the property owner is?
That's an excellent question. Not in this case.
Not in this case.
Not in this case. I see that, honestly, like my mind would have gone there as well. The applicant has authority on behalf of the owner in this case to make the application, and it is continued through. But again, if the council wants that research or wants to delete the line, that's fine too. I'm confident that you have a legally effective resolution here.
And just for clarification, I'm content that the conditions of the CUP approval that we stipulated would be in there are in fact in the resolution. So just confirming that there's further authority within council or within the city. If the conditions are not met, the CUP could be revoked.
Yeah, so you have an existing provisions within the zoning code related to the revocation of conditional use permits for violation of those conditions. And that's a sort of a really good segue just to discuss, issues came up at the last meeting that there are other alcohol businesses in the vicinity of this business or this proposed business that are alleged by the commenters to be acting inappropriately and to be acting as a public nuisance. I can tell you that city manager, city staff, my office have been looking at all of these uses, not just these ones, but all of them. And we'll be reviewing appropriate actions on those bad actors. But in this case, if this applicant does not comply with their conditions of approval, you do have adequate provisions in the code to revoke the conditional use permit, and they would no longer be able to sell alcohol.
And for the record, they have stricter rules than any of the other ABC license holders in the city limits.
They have the strictest rules that this city has ever imposed on an alcohol outlet in this city.
So as a matter of protocol, is it appropriate, since we haven't voted on the motion, for me to withdraw the motion?
You can certainly withdraw it. You're capable of amending your own motion if that's how you desire. I tend not to stand too much on formality when it comes to this. If you'd like to amend your motion and see if you can get a second, that would seem to be appropriate to me.
Whatever's easier, Russ.
I'd just like to withdraw the motion. Anybody else want to make a motion?
All right, so is there more discussion on this? I don't want to. What do you guys want to do?
Let's keep going.
Are we going to make a motion to approve it or no?
Oh, yeah. We'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that. A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So you're going to take a look at all of the other liquor license holders?
Absolutely. I know code enforcement is coming up with a citywide strategy for code enforcement. And one of the things that city manager, I don't want to speak too much for him, but the city manager, code enforcement staff, HP, my office, and they've already been putting this into place, you may have noticed, is sort of categorical enforcement. So we're looking at this type of business this month. And I guarantee you that alcohol sales are going to be on that list sooner rather than later, because the number of complaints that we saw were generated by some of those users.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal, second by Councilmember Krupa. Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
That motion passes to adopt the resolution 4-0.
Okay, and then item 13H. Yes. We are voting on this to appoint Lorena Rocha, Finance Director, as an alternate to this Cal JPIA that is taking place next week in San Diego, correct?
That's correct.
There was an attachment to an email that we got as far as the items on the agenda that they will be, or she or whoever will be voting on next week down there. I would just like to say that the candidate on the agenda for president for, I believe, a 2-year position is Margaret Finley. I personally know Margaret Finley, and she is an extremely sharp lady, does her homework. I was associated with her and still am for many years on SCAG. And I would put forth a recommendation that our delegate vote for Margaret Finley for the president for the next 2 years. If we could add that into this motion.
Absolutely.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I believe the council should make a motion to adopt
Motions?
the alternate and then that direction that Councilmember Krupa mentioned.
Okay, I'll make a motion then to move 13H as is. I'll second that.
Motion made by Councilmember Krupa, second by Mayor Meyer. Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wallenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Meyer. That motion passes 4-0 to appoint the finance director as the alternate voting delegate for the 2021 annual board of directors meeting held on October 7th, 2021, and vote for Margaret Finley as the next delegate for the.
That will be a separate motion. And now I would like to make the motion that we direct the voting delegate to vote for Margaret Finley in the position of president of the Cal JPIA. I'll second that. And further discussion, the city manager, you said that any other things would come to either Russ or I if she did not know which way to vote.
Yeah, that's correct. So if there, Councilmember Krupa mentioned one of the items, the selection of the board of officers. The other item is minutes. If there's anything that's more substantive beyond that, we will make sure to consult with the delegates and make sure that they're apprised of what those items are permanently on a go-forward basis. In addition to that, if there are other items such, and you'll recall we do this with the league, if there are resolutions that require, a formal vote from the city, those items will be brought forward to the council so that we get the collective input and the delegate knows what action the council should take on that.
So should I amend my motion to include vote approving the minutes and the officers that were presented in the document that we received?
I think that would be good. I haven't seen the minutes. I don't know that there were any other delegates that were there in 2020. So it may just be that, I've seen other instances where someone that wasn't there abstains from that specific item. That might be the best course of action for that specific one, and then provide the direction on the selection of the president if that's what the council desires.
And I'll amend my motion to discretionary on minutes, but that to vote for the slate of officers and the president as presented in the document we received.
Motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Mayor Meyer. Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wallenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0.
Okay, next we have item 14A, and this is an update on the Christmas parade. Let's see here. Just hold on one second. I gotta get my little thing to move. I'm gonna go ahead and just do that at this time. We're not gonna use that. Thanks, though. We're not gonna, I don't know where the IT people are, but we're not gonna use the slideshow. And I'm going to go ahead and give the presentation. So as far as the Christmas parade, we have, Councilmember Krupa and I have met, and with Jackie here, she's our staff member that is coordinating the parade. And we have gone over different possibilities for the Christmas parade. And what we'd like to talk to council about is the current parade route and then an alternative that we have suggested. So right now, the current parade route is Palm to Gilbert Park. So at Kirby, that's 2 city blocks. Obviously, we have a big piece of cement down the middle of our street now since we had our last parade. And so that's unfortunate. Because of that, we're trying to figure out different alternatives. And it was suggested that we, and I think Linda and I have kind of talked about this with Jackie, if we keep the staging area on Palm, just you guys have to run you haven't been in the parade yet, but you guys have been down there, and Palm seems to be the ideal width, because even if we were to move it to Gilbert or a different street, some of those streets are narrower than others. And we would still be able to have the staging area on Palm and then head down east instead of going west. I did a slideshow for you guys that didn't get incorporated tonight, but I can send you the parade route. And so it would go to Santa Fe. So that entire area is non-median except Palm to Gilbert. So there'll be a half a block or a quarter of a block, I suppose, that would have a median in it. And then it would open up into Old Town. We talked about having ending the parade at the Weston Park area. Let's see, I'm pulling up my notes here. And we are also suggesting an evening parade. The sun is supposed to go down at about 4:30. And so we were suggesting that the parade would start at 5. That would be about a 2-hour parade if it was, if everybody participated. We don't know yet on the number of schools, bands, et cetera, because, unfortunately for the schools, their rules keep changing. So we'll just have to be flexible with what they're able to do. An evening parade would be able to offer downtown activities like we've had in the past on Harvard Street, north and south. We've had different events. We would be able to have maybe a window decorating contest. I know that we've talked about it before. And someone suggested to me today that we could enlist, like if we get here's a new one for you, Jackie. If we get the chamber involved, get the businesses up and down Florida involved, and get them in touch with local art classes, that would give them an opportunity to be involved, to get students involved in it also. I don't know who would be the judging or do anything like that, but this is just ideas that we're putting around. Also, it's very common for, I know before we've used Gibble Park to have a festival afterwards, and this would just be something in the evening. Other businesses, Harvard Street has often had their own Christmas events, and we could try to get this all coordinated on the same night so that people have options. So there could be caroling in the park, etc. I think that this would mitigate our problem with downtown as far as our median issues. I went through and I made a list of, I didn't print it for you guys, it would be way too long, but
Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, I just didn't get the chance to even introduce myself. I haven't had the pleasure to meet you all in person yet. So yes, I'm Jackie, and everything that you're saying, I do have in our presentation slide, just more outline so that it's not
that's
kind
fine.
of
I got it.
all over the place, but I want to make sure
I
that
submitted a
it's being
slide. Listen,
included
excuse
to
me.
everybody.
I was definitely in the middle of talking, but I did submit a presentation that got skipped over. And so I'm sorry that yours
I'm
is going
sorry,
to get
I did
skipped.
not know that.
I'm-
I don't want to skip
I'm not going
over
to sit and talk over you. I just need you to be quiet, please. I appreciate you coming and doing this, but in my health condition, for me to take the time to do a slideshow and then just get it deleted, it is an absolute slap in my face.
I'm sorry that that's happened to you. I had no idea, but I
know,
want
I'm
to make
sure.
sure that everybody is able to see it all. So
Well,
in this
I
case,
will
we're
try
not
to get
able
my
to.
slideshow into the next council meeting then.
That's fine with me.
Thank you. So anyways, what I was saying is I have a list, and I think it must be on my computer, of all the businesses up and down Florida. And I went through and I pulled them up on the parade route. And it seems that only most of the businesses that are actually open would be the eateries. So whether it's down Harvard, there's one tire shop that's open till 6, another one that's open till 7. You have Midas and but most of them are eateries. So like Vero's Ice Cream, there's the Iduku Mongolian Grill. So as far as impact, we would be able to bring more people downtown, and it would just be something different. Lights are a different idea too, like a lighted parade. I know we have the Hemet Jeep Club that always does the parade through town that everybody likes. So these are some things that we can discuss if you guys like it or if you don't like it.
Go ahead.
Carly already knows I like it. Oh yeah, you were on the phone. We've had this conversation. The only concerns I had was if it negatively impacted public safety or public works in any way, and if they can work around it, I say we go for it. And there you go. And I don't have a problem with, maybe the Rotary wants to do something in the park. I saw you already have a chili
We could
cook-off
dance.
coming on. Oh, yeah. I mean, things like that, getting people involved, getting nonprofits involved, having it downtown. I think personal opinion, I think it brings more of a feeling of community when it's in a smaller area than when it's really, really big and kind of spread out. And as far as an inconvenience to business, I would say that it would probably be a betterment and a good advertisement for businesses, because if you bring a lot of people downtown, and who knows, for the first year and with, post-COVID, eateries, they're going to make money. We all like to eat, and I know Malcolm does. I know Russ does. I know city manager does, city attorney. And you and I like to eat, so there we are. I really, really think it's a good idea, and if the median has forced us to bring that parade back downtown, then I say yay for the damn median. And that the other thing I was going to mention, and I had it on one of these slides, but we have those special decorations on Harvard Street. Yeah. The swag that goes over with a lantern. And I'm going to request one more thing, that we do plant another fir tree of conifer of some kind in Weston Park, or at the library, or in front of the police station, something so that it can grow to be 60, 70 feet tall like it used to be, and horribly decorated. But, that again is my opinion. But the McPherson tree is awesome. The little one on Harvard Street is awesome. And I don't think you can ever have too many decorated Christmas trees. And if we can coordinate the lightings that night, absolutely, then people have options. I mean, people aren't going to be able to be every single place, and everybody has their thing. And so who knows, maybe being towards dusk or dark or whatever it is, maybe it will encourage some people who like to put Christmas trees on their or Christmas lights on their golf carts, recharge your batteries so you can get downtown. That type of thing, it could discourage some, it could encourage some. It's 1 year at a time. 1 year at a time. I just say, let's try it. Yes, you can clap.
You done?
I'm done temporarily. Try it again. She has more on the list.
I have considerable firsthand experience in planning and dealing with parades and parade coordination with my former job. I had the distinction of being in charge of all of our July 4th activities, which included a traditional food and game booth in Memorial Park, and parade and fireworks show in the evening. And we had a traditional parade route. And the way the city that I worked for at the time approached that event is it was a citizen-based committee, and there were staff representatives from the involved department. So Public Works had a staff representative, and our Parks and Rec, and I was the PD rep. And we had some chronic issues that we tried to address year after year. And so after managing that for a few years, I was bold enough or audacious enough to suggest an alternative route that actually lengthened the parade route by 0.2 of a mile and addressed a number of issues that had been of concern. And because of the alternate route, I had fewer need for traffic control points. So I was able to manage the traffic control with fewer personnel. And you would have thought that I was asking the committee to cut off an arm, because they were not embracing the suggested change. But they heard me out and they said, all right, we'll try it. And to this date, that's the parade route that they're still using.
Oh, wow.
So I do know that change, just for the sake of change, is not necessarily easy to embrace, but I know that change for good reasons, even though there may be reluctance to try it, I think if there's good justification and there's not an adverse impact on staff to coordinate it, it would make sense to do that. We've heard some public comment today from Mr. McPherson that advocated an alternate parade route and an alternate time. I kind of like the idea of starting near dusk, because staging a parade is difficult in the dark. And if you get it staged and completed right around sunset, then it allows for the other ceremonial things to take place. So I would be open to an alternate time frame too.
It might actually be cold if we do it a little later. I mean, in the evening. Snow, I won't go that far.
And there
All
has
right.
to be lots of lights.
Yes, lots of lights on those floats.
Lots of lights.
Yes. All right. Well, we will have another ad hoc committee meeting with Jackie, and maybe we can introduce you to the Chamber of Commerce chairman and or president, and she can work with businesses, or we can have a business committee. We'll just have to think about the best way to get everybody involved.
And as soon as we can agree on a route, or you guys can pick a route and a time, then everything else can easily fall into place. But I just want to make it clear that I'm not here to go against anyone. I'm here to bring joy to the city. We want to plan this parade because we didn't get to have one last year. We want to make sure everyone is happy. That's our main goal, is to make sure our residents are happy, our staff is happy, and our businesses are happy. And so we made this presentation just to give you a pros and cons of each side, and not to favor a side or anything, but just so that you have the background XYZ affects each route. We did our research with Public Works and with our police department, and we have representatives from both and with fire here as well, just so that if you have any questions that I'm not able to answer, they're able to answer your questions. We have all pretty much come to the consensus that whatever you agree on, we're going to do our best to complete. So no one is trying to come against anyone here. We want to come together. So I just want you to keep that in mind, and we want to make sure that everyone is happy at the end of the day. We want to make this a joyful event. So we want to make sure everyone is included. So I'll see you at the next meeting.
Mayor, if I could add a couple of things, if that's okay. I think the overall theme is definitely the approach that Jackie referenced. Part of what we talked about earlier was, with the median, with the change in, I think the previous coordinator had moved away. So that really paves the way for opportunity to do things differently, opportunity for new ideas. And so that's really what this conversation is all about, really about, and I would just like to emphasize, staff is merely the implementer. That's all we do. Whatever the council decides on ultimately,
collectively as these types of discussions is what the staff implements. So staff isn't in the position of trying to dictate what the city is going to do. The only thing that staff does is implements what the council desires. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear. It wouldn't have been appropriate for my office to unilaterally say it was going to be X, Y, or Z. And then, some complaints come in and then we have to grapple with that. And the council's looking at me saying, Chris, why did you do this? And I'm saying, well, I'm not the dictator here. I just want everybody to be aware that some of the things that have been considered business impacts, emergency response, largely, we don't know what that would be, but we can provide estimates on what we think it might be. Not to say that those can't be mitigated, but at the end of the day, those are things that staff does worry about. I know PD worries about it, and I know that fire worries about it. So they are things that come up across our minds. So that's why we wanted to have conversations on the staff level of what that means. And then finally, we definitely want to have a unified approach. We don't want to have an approach from the perspective that is just thought up of being, the city manager's office idea. That's not what this is all about. This is about the community. This is about the council, and this is about the staff implementing exactly what the council desires. So I just wanted to make that known to everybody, make that known to the council. Unified approach is definitely the approach that we're looking for, and we definitely want this to be collaborative. And we don't want the perception out there that the city manager's office is doing its own thing. That's why these types of discussions are beneficial for the council as well as the community. So I just wanted to add that, Mayor.
Now, do you want just is consensus fine, or would you like a motion?
I think consensus is fine. That way the staff knows that the council's all on the same page on the time and then the route.
Yeah, I think we all want a unified approach, and since this is an opportunity to look at an alternative location and an alternative time frame, and perhaps coordinating or creating an opportunity for other events associated with the parade culmination, all of those things. So as long as we have the chamber and specifically the impacted businesses on the proposed route, and get the route identified as soon as possible so public safety can address any issues that they may need to make operationally to manage the parade, or operationally to respond around the detours if they get a call for service. All of those things, the sooner we get the route and the time frame identified, the sooner they can start looking at those details, because those are critical too.
I would also add one more thing, and I communicated this to the mayor, but historically the city's practice has been that the mayor selects the theme, some of those other big components of that. And so I just wanted to make that clear that that's obviously we're going to go in that same direction, and we are working with the mayor to identify those types of details that have historically been provided by the mayor. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that was the direction that we're taking.
So you guys are good with, we'll just leave it staging down Palm as far as it goes, because sometimes it goes all the way to the RV place, to Forest River, but staging on Palm, and then it will head east to Santa Fe, and then at the end of Santa Fe it'll go north onto Santa Fe, and there's St. John and the little streets that people can off on.
Right.
And then we'll do an evening parade. I mean, if the sun goes down at 4:30, then it'll be dark by 5 or almost dark.
I like the idea of.
And it should be done by 10 probably.
Oh, yeah, and getting the
Plenty of
staging
time.
done in
Yeah.
semi-daylight, because
Yeah.
that is important.
Oh, gee, that might be way long.
Wanted to include that the questions that Councilmember Brown was asking are included in our PowerPoint, and we have our PD here to answer those questions for you. So if that's the route you guys want to go with, I think we can answer those questions for you tonight, since we're here for that. So
Are you guys all good with that?
Yeah, Palm to Santa Fe, because we still have to go to Caltrans to get a permit to close the street.
Perfect.
So long as police and fire don't have any major issues. Okay, I see some.
Shaking their head.
chief wants to say something, Carly.
Well, after the kind words that we received earlier from our great citizens about the police department, how could I say no? If there are any negative impacts, I guarantee I'll bring more lights to the parade and maybe some more noise like sirens, but I think we'll be fine. And I have our sergeant of our traffic
We
bureau
were
here to
talking about
answer any
lights on the
questions.
floats.
More lights if you like. So I have Sergeant Reinbold here. He's worked with Jackie regarding this, regarding the parade, and I'm sure you can answer many questions if you have any.
We'll let you guys get to work and we'll do this. All right, perfect, thank you. All right, next we'll go to item 14B.
Mayor, if you'd like me to just handle this one, I think I can do it relatively quickly. At the last meeting, my office was asked to research specifically what is the equivalent community benefit fee that is being charged in the cities of Lake Elsinore and Wildemar in lieu of having a tax set at a rate such as the city council here is contemplating. We've pulled all of those agreements. As you can imagine, it is somewhat convoluted how it's put together. There is a per square foot fee to the city. There is sometimes a percentage community benefit fee, and how that's exactly spent is not always clear. So while we do have it, we are doing an analysis of all those agreements, and we'll be including a summary. And then just so that the council has a full picture, I think, of what the revenues are. I've also asked my paralegal who's doing the research to research the total number of licensees that are being taxed in each jurisdiction and what the projected revenue is, to give the council sort of an idea of, at the different, it's one thing to say, well, they're taxing at this rate. It's another thing to say, well, here's what they're actually receiving in revenue. So since we were taking some time to finish up the research, I thought it'd be nice to get that additional information to the council.
Thank
So
you.
I'm
I was
asking
going to
that
ask for some of that too.
Oh,
So that's
fantastic. Wow.
perfect. Okay.
Clairvoyant city attorney.
And like number of licenses, like in these on this comparison chart, maybe like the number of licenses that are being utilized.
Okay.
We just want to see the most successful model, I guess. You know what I'm saying, you guys? If it had like the income numbers, but anyways, I guess we're not voting on it, but I was going to ask those questions tonight. So we'll add that to your list. Sorry.
We will add that, and this is not an unusual position for the city to be in, obviously. So we'll get that information so that you can make an informed decision about where to set the tax rate.
Perfect. Right. Okay, with that, we'll move on to council reports.
Can I just make a comment on that? At Cal Cities this past week, I sat in on a partial presentation on cannabis do's, don'ts, success rates, failures, whatever. I mean, it was, and then I had to leave because of
Lessons learned by our predecessors.
Yes. And I think that session should be on the Cal Cities website by now. And I would just suggest that everybody look at it because it was really common sense and right to the point. There was a city manager from Costa Mesa who is doing good things. And then there was a planning commissioner from Bellflower who used to be on city council. In fact, we met him after dinner and on the sidewalk. And but he had some real good points to make from the policy angle. And I don't remember who the other gentleman was. I think that was more on the legal side or the growers side. The moderator was from the growers, but it's a very, very interesting presentation they did, backed up by fact and numbers. So I would suggest that as council members, we all go on Cal City's website and look at that particular, I think it was perception versus reality with cannabis.
I know my office downloaded all of the materials from the conference and put it into our library. So I'll send it over to the city manager and we can get it distributed to the city council as well.
It was a good presentation.
And just on that point, the data, I know for a fact, 'cause I was speaking with our HDL consultant, they have the information. They know how many licensees are in each jurisdiction, and they know what the actual revenue is, because that's their business to know. So we should be able to get that information very quickly.
All right, Russ, you didn't give a council report last meeting, so we skipped them all.
No, no, no.
Making up time.
Just in the way of informing the full council, the city manager and I have had some discussions on this. I was contacted by a constituent who had concerns about the practicality of the current location of our main post office in the city of Hemet. And so what we've done is we've had a couple of informal meetings, kind of an exploratory ad hoc discussion. It's not really even a committee at this point, but I invited a representative from Congressman Ruiz's office, one of his staffers, to help us identify even who do we contact at the post office. There's been a lot of turnover of the postmaster, and I pretty much presumed that it's not the postmaster's decision about where they're located. They're just in charge of the operation. So with the assistance of the congressman's office, we did identify an individual who is in charge of a very large region in which Hemet falls, and his office is in San Diego. And so we had a meeting yesterday with Tom Garnella, who is a retired superintendent of schools. And he was the one that originally contacted me. And I invited Robin Lowe and Lori Van Arsdale because they certainly have a lot of historical perspective. And we had a Zoom meeting with Sean Zarkowski, who is the Consumer Affairs Manager for USPS. And he also had on the Zoom call his associate, Regina Owens. And we talked about a number of things. We conveyed the concerns that we had about the parking lot being too small. It's very difficult for ingress and egress, particularly during peak commuter times with traffic stacking, and also with the displacement of Florida traffic onto Acacia and the problems that creates. And I found him surprisingly receptive to all of our concerns. It was very beneficial too, because Lori Van Arsdale had a lot of hard data from, unbeknownst to me, that the city started looking at this back in '94. And council actually had some formal action in '99, and there was some lobbying going on in Washington, D.C. on our behalf. And she actually had a document from USPS that said the current location is inadequate. So I was a little bit uplifted by the thought that if it was inadequate in '99, it's probably inadequate in 2021. So we're just looking, we asked them to consider a few things, and we've scheduled a follow-up meeting next month on the 25th. And hopefully we'll be looking at some hopefully constructive feedback from USPS and see where it takes us. There's a question that I posed to our city manager to get an updated list of city-owned parcels that the city might be interested in selling. So just to try to figure out what are the possibilities and the feasibility of coordinating with USPS and maybe get a better location that's more accessible to the community. So we're just in the, like I said, exploratory infancy stage, but I wanted the full council to be aware of that, what's going on. If at some point something begins to materialize, then certainly we'd work with community development and city manager's office and get a formal agenda item brought to council. And that's all I really want to share.
Thanks, Russ. Right, Councilmember Krupa. Okay, the library Board of Trustees met last week, and the main thing that's happening at the library is that it is open, limited hours, but people are coming back, and checking out of books is still a high priority. And it's amazing how many articles get moved through the library all the time. One of the main things that they are currently working on is reassessment of the books in the children's area. They are looking at, or have looked at, the high volume types of books, which are the picture books, but also in the wizardry and things like that. And instead of having them kind of back to draw, you have to go to the back of the place to find the best books you want to read. Well, they've decided that that's not necessarily a smart way of doing it. So they're moving them up front, recategorizing them, adding a lot of pictures and colors and whatever that are stimulating to younger people, and just really incorporating a well-rounded, exciting atmosphere for young readers coming into the library. And it's just really cool what they're doing. The League of California Cities Conference, I was the voting delegate from the city, and also I was on the General Resolutions Committee, and 2 resolutions were brought forward to us. One dealing with the sharing of Bradley Burns. I keep thinking Myers-Briggs. That's just a psychological test. Anyway, Bradley Burns sales tax from distribution center cities to non-distribution center cities. It became extremely contentious, not only in the policy committee or in the General Resolutions Committee, but we got it settled. The requested action from the Resolutions Committee was to deny the resolution that was brought forward by the city of Rancho Cucamonga, and to send it back to the Revenue and Taxation Policy Committee that I sit on, yay, and with the added instruction to reactivate the city manager's working group that was working on this issue probably about 10 years ago, and then get actual current data on sales tax implication of distribution centers on not only the city that it's located in, but also on the impact of deliveries, added traffic, and that type of thing to destination and end destination cities. So that came forward to the floor of the conference, and Rancho Cucamonga wanted to offer a friendly amendment. By that time, tempers were really getting short, and time was at a crunch because we were all looking at each other and saying, we have a plane to catch and we're not spending the night up here again. So anyway, you have to, their protocol and their rules that you have to be recognized by the chair. You can't just stand up and blurt something out. It's very, very formal. So recognized by the chair to make your pitch, but the amendment was put forward. It was seconded. Then the next thing that needed to be done was that the body as a whole had to vote on whether there was going to be debate allowed. Debate was not allowed, very vocally and very loudly. So therefore the friendly amendment failed. We voted on it to go back, and overwhelmingly it was voted to go back to policy committee. So it will come back to revenue and taxation, and we will deal with this with facts and figures coming forward in the next year, and hopefully come to a decision, of a firm decision coming from the league, not leaving it to the whim of the legislature, who does not do us any favors in any way, shape, or form,
And if there needs to be a sharing or revamping of sales tax in general, most of us had the feeling that we would like to take the state's 7% and give it back to the cities. So, then we get 9%, which would be really kind of cool. But it was an interesting conference. Very nice to see people in person. 1,500 people signed up to go. We had a good representation from the city of Hemet, city manager, city attorney, mayor pro tem, council member, and finance director. And I think we hit most of the sessions. So since they're now online, there's a lot of good ones, and it's always good to revisit the ones that were there. So all in all, it was a good conference, but I will say the city of Sacramento has deteriorated greatly since I was last up there, which was January of 2020. And a lot of homeless, a lot of trash, a lot of garbage, a lot of smell, a lot of closed businesses, and mandatory masks basically everywhere you went up there. We all got off the airplane, mandatory mask on the airplane. We all got out, and I think we threw our masks in the trash and said, yeah, we're not putting these on again. But anyway, it was good. The other thing is, which is not on my list here, is RCA. And I had reached out to Ann Mayer, who is the CEO of RCA and RCTC, asking if RCA was going to create a TAC, a technical advisory committee of staff people, because RCA is the only county regional group or board that does not have a staff advisory group. And basically, I mean, staff knows where it's at. We can set policy, but you have to know the ins and outs and rules and regs and how things are done before you, in my opinion, can make an intelligent decision on policy. So she came back to me and she said that was something they were looking at next on getting that done. I did get an email yesterday or today from her saying that the old stakeholders subcommittee of RCA was going to be reinstituted. And that basically is property owners and people who represent property owners who are impacted by the habitat and the RCA rules and regs. So it's a step in the right direction. And then if we can get the TAC, because there was an issue that came out, and I talked to Chris and I said, is it staff aware of what's happening here? And it was, no, there is an attack. So until you get that type of involvement in how it impacts cities and the fees that impact cities, because right now they're going through another sticky wicket with prepayment of fees that were done prior to the last increase. So cities are up in arms, and it's like you have to have a staff person there. You really, really do. And then the last thing is the Planning Commission. I know Malcolm and I are sharing dates, but who got what? I didn't write it down. We determined that I would do one planning commission a month and Malcolm would do the other one, but am I doing the first or the third?
Yeah, so I believe you're doing the first and Malcolm's doing the
Got it.
third.
That's all I need to know. That's it. Thank you, Carly.
Right, Mayor Pro Tem Lilienthal.
I have nothing to report, Your Honor.
You've been doing things all weekend. Saw pictures online. You want me to report for you? No.
Well, over the weekend, I got this bright idea to have a coloring contest with my kids. And so we found some graffiti over there on Angel View building, and with my children, they helped me paint the wall. And so that big piece of graffiti was covered. I did tell the people on Facebook that I apologize for not getting a before picture, because everyone likes to see the before and afters. And then there was another piece of, it was a wall located on Girard that had a significant amount of graffiti on it that the business across the street emailed me and to let me know about it. And they said that they, saw my past posts about graffiti and stuff like that. So went over there and covered up that area too. So I kept telling everyone on Facebook, if you have pictures, let me know, because there's a lot of groups out here who want to step up and help. So continue to share the pictures with me and things like that, and together we can keep the community clean.
Thank you. Thanks for getting out there and doing that, because that was a big piece of graffiti.
It was so big.
Everybody.
When you
everybody's
start
grateful.
something and you're like, what did I get myself into?
That's awesome. All right. I don't have anything to report on here. But we do need to go back to item 14B. Can we vote real fast and continue that item, the cannabis tax? We just need to have a motion to continue that.
Move to continue 14B.
Second.
All right.
Okay, Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa, Mayor Pro Tem Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
That motion passes to continue the item.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, I had to make sure that it was official. Okay. And then if you guys look down your list of ad hoc committees, and just if you've had a meeting and need to give an update, then go ahead. We can, John Paul, we could probably add like the holiday events, because I know we have Veterans Day, and since we met, that will be Linda and I. So we meet with them this week. So, all right. City Manager Lopez, do you have an update?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. Really enjoyed the time up at the league with Mayor Pro Tem Lilienthal, Councilmember Brown, and Councilmember Krupa. I really enjoyed the sessions that we spent together, decompressing on, the items that we discussed. I don't think Mayor Pro Tem mentioned this, but I think it was Wednesday morning, we went up and visited with the state auditor's office and had a face-to-face meeting with the liaison that's been working with the city. And he noted the significant progress that the city had done over the last 3 years. So it was nice to have Mayor Pro Tem Lilienthal there and ask some questions about the process, how we ended up there, and what it might look like on a more positive note going forward. But I think they did mention that they've taken note on the progress that the city has made, and that they are taking note of that. So that's the only thing that I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, our favorite item, future agenda items. We're getting all the futures taken care of. Anybody have anything on your list? I'm sure you'd have already brought it up by now, since we don't like to wait till the end, but I've just had to ask. All right, with that seeing none, we will adjourn our meeting till October. I know.